One of the major concerns with this piece of legislation is that it is simply an attempt for parents who never had any intention of sending their children to public schools to get public funds to be used to send their kids to private schools. Listening to the debate on the last amendment, which I really would have thought that would have been pretty much non-controversial, leads me to reinforce my particular concern that that's what's going on. The provision, the way the bill works is if your child has an individual education plan, which can extend to people with relatively minor problems, but once you have the individual education plan, the existence of that document allows you to withdraw your child from the public schools until the child finishes high school and the child reaches age 21, to get $6,000 plus from the Treasury every year for that purpose, and never, ever have to have any connection between the school where the child is going and the child's disability. In other words, if a child has a speaking problem or a speech impediment and needs speech therapy, the child who needs speech therapy can have a parent withdraw him or her from the public schools, enroll in another school, and get public funds, $6,000 plus, for the rest of that child's education, even though the public school or the private school where the child is going has no program or no particular way to benefit a child with a speech impediment. And even though, after a couple of years of therapy, the child no longer has the impediment. That is what got the attention of a lot of us when this bill first came down the pike. And although there have been some positive changes to the bill, that situation still exists, and listening and observing the resistance to make any changes to that sort of reinforces the notion that that's what's going on out there. Apart from that, actually I feel like a preacher. I have three parts. Part two, the bill itself has technical issues that I think need to be considered. And it's an indication why this is a troublesome proposition. The bill refers to a parent. A parent may sign a document and remove his or her child from the public school. But children have two parents. There's no requirement that the two parents agree, and I don't know how you sort out the issue if one parent wants the child to do one thing and one parent wants the child to do another. But in this bill, a child, a parent, even in the case of a divorce, a non-custodial parent can sign the document. I don't know how you resolve those issues, but that's a problem. Secondly, I think that when this bill is being discussed, we continue to hear stories about children with very severe problems. And that's what we talk about. That's not what the language of the bill does. But I would like for us to focus on the children with severe problems. Number one, it's going to cost a lot more than $6,000 a year for those children. And there may be circumstances in which those children need to go to an institution that is not a public institution because they're better equipped. And there was the legislation we passed last year for a particular school in a particular situation. But what if the child needs $15,000 a year in assistance? Where's the other $9,000 going to come from? By taking the $6,000 and spending that on children whose problems don't cost $6,000 to care for, you're taking money away that otherwise could be used for the children with the severe difficulties. And frankly, it's the children with the most severe difficulties that are most likely to have a situation where they need to be someplace other than in the public school. The first come, first serve issue is very, very troubling, because that means if you line up first and you're aware and you know that all this is going on, you're going to snatch up the money before it could get there for the children that may need it worse. There also has been much discussion about parents, but not all parents are as careful about taking care of their children as they should be. In fact, one of the main problems we have in society, in particular one of the main problems we have in public schools, are children whose parents are not caring for them as one would expect a parent to do. Now, these are the children who most desperately need help because they don't have the support at home that other children have. But these children are not going to have a parent to sign up to get $6,000. The children that need help the worst, the children without the type of parents we would hope they have, will not be able to access this program. But if one of those parents who is not properly taking care of his or her child goes and signs a piece of paper, there goes the $6,000. Thirdly, and in conclusion, they smile when the preacher says that, I just question whether this is the right approach at all. And I'm troubled that we're not doing what would be the most efficient way to handle this. I again commend Senator Collins, and I commend the parents and the advocates who have brought this problem to the forefront and brought it to our attention. And I certainly have spent a lot more time thinking about this issue than I would have otherwise, and I'll bet everybody in this chamber has. And you know, sometimes when you listen to each other, you find out there's a point that you've been overlooking. The public schools in the state don't necessarily have the resources, and by that I don't mean money, I mean the knowledge and the ability to know what's available to children with special needs the Senate for its attention, and I appreciate all of us struggling with this issue. I just am profoundly disturbed that there seems to be such a desire to pass a bill this session as an end unto itself, even though it may do more harm than good.
Thanks, Senator Bryan. Would anyone else like to speak? Chair